When it comes to the great Die Hard Christmas debate, there's only two opinions. You either think this is a Christmas movie, or you're wrong. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Hope you and your families are having a very happy holiday, a very Merry Christmas, and welcome back to the channel. And before I actually start talking about this movie, let's address the elephant in the room. So every December, without fail, the biggest debate amongst movie fans is this film right here, Die Hard. Is it a Christmas movie?
Do you consider Die Hard a Christmas movie? Would you say that is a Christmas movie, Edward Norton?
Emphatically, yes.
You're goddamn right.
So, Die Hard is centered around our character, John McClane, a New York City police officer flying to California to see his wife and kids for the holidays. This is a movie that takes place on Christmas Eve, where this group of employees is celebrating their Christmas party with their Christmas trees, their Christmas presents, their Christmas decorations, a soundtrack that has 3 to 4 Christmas songs in it, while people spend the entire movie saying Christmassy things.
It's Christmas, Theo. It's the time of miracles, so be of good cheer and call me when you hit the last lock.
And if you couldn't tell, based on my super subtle way of fitting the word Christmas in about 10 times, counter, I am 100% part of the first camp over here that considers this a holiday, a bona fide Christmas classic. I honestly don't even get the argument against it being a Christmas movie, but if you're one of those people, let me know down in the comments. But beyond the great Christmas debate, not only is this my favorite holiday movie, this is probably my favorite action movie of all time. I mean, I like this more than Aliens. I like it more than Predator, which the director of Die Hard, John McTiernan, also directed. I like it more than The Terminator. Hell, most days I even like it more than Terminator 2, which is like essentially the holy grail of this genre. And on top of the obvious, which is just a brilliant performance by Bruce Willis, the first thing I always appreciate about this movie is how John McClane feels like an everyman. He feels so human. This is a character you can relate to. As much as I absolutely love the cheese of earlier 80s action movies with guys like Schwarzenegger, Stallone, and Van Damme, they were like these hulking 37-inch bicep monsters that were pretty much invincible. Whereas John McClane is just this average-looking guy trying to get to California in time to fix his marriage, see his wife and kids, tell his wife that he's sorry. This movie came out in 1988, and it really changed the future of action movies. Bruce Willis literally redefined what it means to be an action star. Like, no longer did you have to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. You could just be a normal guy in this extreme circumstance, and you could make a fantastic movie out of that. And there's just all these little moments sprinkled throughout the entire movie. You know, I love his cockiness. I love how he kind of like talks to himself throughout it. I love how he's cracking jokes. And there's all these little moments that just make him feel so human.
Come out to the coast. We'll get together. Have a few laughs. Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
One scene in particular that pops right off the screen and has a very Batman 2022 vibe to it. And you all know me, I'm going to look for any excuse to talk about that movie. So let's do that. Now, one of my absolute favorite scenes from Matt Reeves' Batman is when Pattinson is running away from the police in the precinct. He like zip lines up to the roof, and it's that brief moment of hesitation before he jumps off the building. Like, there is a full second or two where you can see that he's scared. He has to catch his breath, because even though he's a badass, I mean, he's still human. He is still just a guy in a suit. The same kind of thing here when Bruce Willis is on the top of Nakatomi Plaza and he's like tying the hose around him. He says a little prayer before he jumps off this building to avoid the explosion. And it's just these little moments that add to an already compelling character to make them that much more interesting and that much more relatable. Now, unfortunately, the further this series went along, they kind of got away from that, turning him more into the traditional action hero. But that's a discussion for another day. We're here to talk about the first Die Hard, damn it, Christmas. And compared to some more of the over-the-top action films that I talked about earlier, that, for the record, I still very much enjoy, the writing in this movie is just on a whole other level. There is literally like no wasted scenes in this movie. Every line, every moment, no matter how insignificant they may seem at first, they all come full circle. They all have some kind of payoff. Moments like Holly turning John's picture face down in her office because she's upset with him, which of course leads to Hans not knowing until the third act that they're husband and wife. Moments like John having this strange conversation at the beginning of the movie on how to like avoid jet lag by putting your feet on the ground and making knuckles with your toes. That comes full circle as John takes his shoes off later and he's barefoot. That comes back to bite him with the scenes of him walking across glass. Moments like the two people bursting into their office to have a little Christmas fun until they move it to another room because John and Holly are arguing. And as a result, later on, the terrorists get distracted by those two people, which allows John to kind of slip away without being caught. You have Al, who confesses to John at some point in the movie that he hasn't been able to pick up his gun since he accidentally shot a kid, and at the end of this movie, he has to shoot at Hans to save their lives. Everything here has a purpose. This script is brilliant. Of course, you have a supporting cast here that is also phenomenal. You have John's wife, Holly, that really you can tell keeps him grounded, kind of challenges him in the best of ways. She is somebody who can kind of handle his bravado, and she's a total badass in her own right, like kind of taking the lead after her boss is killed, taking the lead of the hostage situation. You have the limo driver, who's a real one, he sticks with John the whole time, but you have the limo driver, Argyle, who's hilarious and provides some much needed comedic relief. One of my personal favorites that I touched on is Sergeant Al. He's like this LAPD officer who has the trauma about picking up a gun because of his accident, and he forms a real friendship with John McClane through talking on the radio. Like, they form a real bond together, and he even gets this character development of his own and kind of this payoff of seeing them embrace at the end of the movie. And then, of course, you have Alan Rickman playing one of the greatest antagonists, one of the greatest villains of all time as Hans Gruber. Like, people that have never even seen Die Hard, they know the name Hans Gruber. That's how far his reach is. And you have just this masterful line delivery in only a way that Alan Rickman could do it.
Now I have a machine gun. Ho, ho, ho.
And Hans is really everything you want to see in a villain. I mean, he's formidable, he's cunning, he's intimidating, he's calm, he's cool, he's collect, he has a great plan. I mean, you know, while still having a little bit of charm to him, you can't help but kind of be endeared to the guy a little bit, and he's highly intelligent. You know, the guy uses the FBI's plan against them, like shutting down power, to kind of break that seventh wall to get into the vault. You have him faking his own death by blowing up the roof of the plaza. The guy is smart. Another one of these little moments that just add to the greatness of this movie and add to the character of Hans. You can really see how cunning and strategic he is he remembers an interaction earlier in the movie with John, seeing him in his bare feet. So instead of his henchmen wasting bullets when they're in the same room, he actually has them shoot above John hiding, shatter all the glass around him, so he has to walk through that. So of course that cuts up the bottom of his feet, fucks him up, and there's even like a blood trail that they could potentially follow. And of course, in another one of the best scenes of the movie, you have Hans like up near the vents, up near the roof when John finds him, and Hans turns it on so fast, puts on this fake American accent, and convinces John like he's an escaped hostage. It is so damn good. And for the record, I've shown so many friends this movie through the years, and they get so pissed when Bruce Willis gives him a gun. Because, you know, naturally in their mind, they're like, oh, here we go. Another dumb character moment in one of these action movies that makes no sense. And then when they see the big twist that John McClane gave him a gun with, oh no bullets, their minds are fucking blown. Because as smart as Hans was, at times, John was still a few steps ahead of him. If you put a gun to my head that actually had bullets in it, and you forced me to like try to find something negative, I guess Paul Gleason pissed me off a little bit, who most of you know is the principal from The Breakfast Club.
Does Barry Manilow know that you raid his wardrobe?
Give you the answer to that question, Mr. Bender, next Saturday. Don't mess with the bull, young man. You'll get the horns.
His character pissed me off for sure, like being too arrogant to listen to Al, too arrogant to listen to John McClane. But I mean, it's not completely unrealistic. Every job kind of has the boss who thinks he knows everything, and in turn kind of makes him the biggest dumbass in the room. And then you have the reporter character, who really pissed me off, but he definitely served a story purpose. He is the reason that Hans figured out that they were husband and wife and they had kids together. So he was needed.
Mr. McClane, now that it's all over after this incredible ordeal, what are your feelings?
But guys, there's just too many great things to say about this movie. The writing is incredible, the action is gripping, the pacing is damn near perfect, you have a main character you can root for, you have compelling side characters, you have one of the greatest villains of all time, you have this little splash of comedy that never pulls you out of the experience, and this is just a brilliant movie. It really is, top to bottom. It is an average man in an extraordinary situation, just being a good person, doing everything he can to save lives. But that's going to do it for this one, guys. I don't even know about giving this a rating. I love this movie so damn much. I guess if I had to, I would give it like a 9.5 out of 10, maybe a 9.25, somewhere in that range. That's how much I love this movie. Even though action isn't my genre, I do have a handful, including this one, that I hold at a very special place in my heart, and Die Hard is like the king of the tower. Oh yeah, and it's a really fun Christmas movie. But that's going to do it for me, guys. Let me know down in the comments what you think of Die Hard. More importantly, let me know if you think it's a Christmas movie and why, or why you think it is not a Christmas movie. Do any of you find this to be wildly overrated? Not the franchise, because I get that argument, but the first Die Hard. Is there anybody out there who really didn't care for this movie? I would love to hear your argument there. Other than that, guys, do all the normal YouTube stuff. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up to let me and the algorithm know that you enjoyed it. Drop a comment letting me know if this is a Christmas movie or not, how you would rank the Die Hard franchise, and if you'd like to see me talk about the Die Hard sequels. And while I have you real quick, me and two friends also do a weekly pop culture podcast called Culture Shocked. Links for that will be down in the video description, where we will be talking about this movie very soon, so you can hear their thoughts as well if you're interested. And as always, we'll see you in the next one. Now I have a Christmas hat. Ho, ho, ho.